So we have a game set in a mansion connected to an underground lab, and a movie with a mansion connected to an underground lab. Okay, this adaptation is already closer than most video game adaptations. Doesn't mean it's faithful, and Constantin Films is a German studio. Is that a tax loophole I smell? Resident Evil is a 2002 action horror film written and directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. It follows the events of the Hive, an Umbrella facility that has seen a virus released. Now a crack squad of company operatives must move in and discover what happened. Along with them is several pieces of the puzzle that are suffering amnesia, but the suffering has just begun, as creatures deep down there hunger for their flesh. Now, as some might be aware, George Romero was set to handle a Resident Evil film. He'd done the live-action trailer for Resident Evil 2, and was well into making a film. Or at least so far as making multiple drafts. However, for some idiotic reason, head of production Robert Kolzer denied every draft. He claimed he felt it would be rated NC-17. Hired screenwriter Alan B. McElroy would also have his script thrown in the trash. Though many at Capcom and Constantin Films were happy with the drafts, Constantin head Bernd Eichinger ultimately rejected it. So you have these dumb fucks to thank for what we got instead. Luckily, many drafts of Romero and McElroy's work is available through the University of Pittsburgh's library system. In fact, a documentary was made on these versions back in January of 2025. But I'm not here to talk about George and his zombies. I'm here to talk about 2002's Resident Evil. Well, the film starts off with a pristine lab, safety measures, proper procedures, and is this the right biolab? Yep, now it's an Umbrella lab, and all the staff should have read over their severance package. I can complain about what became of the film, but honestly, this isn't terrible. The opening is very early 2000s, but honestly, I enjoy the style, and the music is just right for it. Also, some people have asked how the virus escaped, considering any self-respecting room of this kind would effectively be sealed off. I'm just gonna say sabotage. It works for me anyways. What also works for me is Mila Jovovich playing Alice, who is awakened, passed out in the bathroom. Every time I've found someone in the bathroom, they were disheveled and smelling of booze. And not an attractive woman. Dazed and confused, the bitch in the red dress navigates the area, wall humping for any interactables and finding a drawer full of guns. But not before someone finds her, and then more people find them. Hunk is black?
Prep for entry to the Hive.
And British? No, this is James, One Shade, played by Colin Salmon. Additionally, we have Officer Matt Edison, played by Eric Mabius, who is currently being given the rough treatment by Rain, played by Michelle Rodriguez, who, while the name is spelled like rain, I will choose to believe is named after the Dampier Rain. Did I mention the music is spot on? Marco Beltrami alongside Marilyn Manson handled the score. Beltrami wrote more orchestral, while Manson went in heavier, and it works. Finding a train and getting it running, they find another actor and get him fallen.
Jumpy?
One, that's payoff for an earlier joke, and two, this movie I saw as a child is starting to add up to a lot of things. This is Spence, played by James Purfoy. He, just like Alice, is suffering from amnesia. But what is going on?
Primary effect of the gas, complete unconsciousness, lasting anything up to 4 hours.
With all the amnesia and stuff, I wonder if Resident Evil Survivor was an inspiration to some extent. But yes, you're both Umbrella security operatives, the marriage is a sham, and this mansion is an off-site back entrance to the Hive. As for the memory problem, it turns out when the Hive went down, it triggered defense systems, and so Alice was gassed in the showers. But more importantly, the Hive has been breached, and it's time to move in. And because James is our source of information, he fills us in on the Hive's AI, the Red Queen.
5 hours ago, Red Queen went homicidal. Sealed the Hive and killed everyone down here.
And it looks like Spence and Alice were more than just co-workers. If there's one criticism I have for this film, it's that for all the 2000s style, it does carry over the unfortunate jump scares, something that weirdly refuses to die. I mean, they had one earlier that was just an overly loud music sting to a guy poking his head in the frame. Oh, and not much really happens here. The security is breached, the Red Queen is vulnerable, and the team moves in to EMP her ass. Or they would, had they been given a heads up about how many defenses the bitch all in red has ready. This is a really cool scene, and for all the negatives that have come from this series, it did give something back to the game, that being the laser hallway that would later be found in Resident Evil 4. But while there, Leon is able to survive. I think McCready put it best.
Cheating bitch.
Alright guys and gals, I got the defenses disabled. For real this time. Shock up shocks. He actually does, and they're able to rig up the EMP. But not before the Queen drops one of the most memorable lines of the film.
You're all going to die down here.
The power is down and we're back with Rain and company, investigating a wounded scientist she is attacked. But JD, played by Pascal Elairdy, is there to rescue her.
I'm warning you, stay down!
She's crazy.
Small side note I couldn't help but notice, the Umbrella operatives here act much more like the Umbrella mercs in Nemesis. Most any time an Umbrella cleanup squad is involved, they just kill any non-vital civvies. The mercs in Nemesis were way more open to cooperating and even saving civilians. I mean, JD gives the doctor every chance to back down before mag dumping it alongside Rain. Also, I won't lie, the entire sequence is fun as hell. It has a rockin' soundtrack, action, little lacking on the gore front, but Spence' nervous yet controlled urging Kaplan to open the door is hilarious.
Hurry up. Shit! Come on, man. Shit!
Meanwhile, in the middle of all of this going on, Alice is having flashbacks to her making a secret rendezvous about handing over codes and secrets. Also, the code for the door should be Captain Rhodes. Weird code.
See how easy that was?
Cool, but, again, weirdly lacking much blood. Oh, and a liquor may have escaped. In this separate ways moment, we follow Alice, who deals with infected ruffians and zombies through hand-to-hand combat. And a gun. Elsewhere, Matt is exploring for someone called Lisa, and she finds him. Alice saves him, bringing out another flashback. Lisa is who she was working with. She was also Matt's sister. Together, the two of them were trying to take down Umbrella. He couldn't be the one to infiltrate because his name was too hot. Admittedly, Mabius isn't a bad Chris, at least if we stick to the first entry or even Code Veronica. But his cop ID is fake and Stars isn't mentioned once. Just like Alice refuses to mention she's the contact. We then hit a point where the writer just wanted to reunite everyone. We go from Matt telling Alice about how the T-Virus will sell in the black market, to them and Spence fleeing back to the laser hallway. There might have been a deleted scene, but in the film it's just abrupt and makes the viewer rather dizzy. Well, let's all be timely about this then. Alice realizes their only hope is to bring the Red Queen back online, though she is on her last life now.
Have gone out of control.
Give me that fucking switch right now. I'm gonna fry your ass.
Utilizing what appears to be a maintenance tunnel, our group is beset upon by the undead. And did this film also inspire that scene in Umbrella Chronicles?
No!
You might remember Rain was bit. In case you didn't, the film goes well out of its way to have her bit many more times. JD even shows up for a nibble. Keeping on, Kaplan is separated and is about to take the easy way out. But he only needs 100 more points to open the next door. Beaten and battered, our remaining cast wander the facility, with Alice hitting them flashbacks hard. So hard, in fact, she's able to remember about an antivirus.
I was beginning to worry.
Also, hey, Matt, I was your sister's contact. Don't be mad, we can learn more soon after I discover the cure is gone. Time for Spence to have flashbacks of his own. He was a third faction in all of this, spying on Lisa and Alice, making sure she was indisposed, and ultimately unleashing the T-Virus. Also, yes, he does shoulder check the guy in the opening, but he's well hidden and I doubt anyone caught the jacket. Just like Alice doesn't catch the pistol Well, the Red Queen stopped me once, but I'm gonna depart now. What, is there gonna be a giant licker or something out there waiting to ambush me? Also, the Red Queen drops the term hunter, but that is blatantly a licker. Personally, I would have preferred a couple of hunters, but that's just me. The CGI is that in-between of not completely 90s terrible, but it also isn't great. For the time, it's probably pretty good, but the handful of practical effects used for it look rather solid. Oh, and I might have skipped over them being on a time crunch before the place shuts down. Sadly, they need a passcode, and the Red Queen is a fickle bitch who can't play the odds on the cure. So time to recreate Mary, Queen of Scots.
Bitch wouldn't open the door, so I had to fry her.
I told you Kaplan just needed 100 more points for the door. Rushing to the train, everyone hops aboard while Alice finalizes her breakup. So all's well that ends well. But this is Resident Evil, and the monster hasn't been defeated. So the train is attacked, with Kaplan being ripped out. You can tell this came out prior to RE4 and 5 because that pistol is not upgraded. You need a shotgun for that knockback. Or a pipe to pin down the tongue. Rain has joined the fight, just not for the living side, though she does get an assist on the liquor. Bit sad it didn't end with a rocket launcher, but hey, our heroes are alive and well. Or at least alive. But it's time for Umbrella to step in. Again, the music is peak, but the city isn't, as Alice wakes up alone and discovers the entire city has gone to hell. Premiering in the United States March 12, 2002, the film would have an estimated budget of $33 million. It would see a worldwide gross income of just under $103 million. Filmed in multiple parts of Germany, the ending scene of Raccoon City being abandoned was done in Toronto, Canada. Many countries kept the name simple with Resident Evil, though some, like Azerbaijan, called it Abode of Evil, or Brazil with Resident Evil, the Evil Guest. In fact, the official name was almost Resident Evil Ground Zero, as it was originally planned to be a prequel to the games. That wouldn't be a terrible idea, though it wouldn't mesh perfectly, but who knows how much was changed from the original idea. Some interesting facts are that Mila Jovovich did most of her stunts, save for one during the pipe sequence, due to her agent fearing she'd choke on some wires. To be fair, she did put in the effort, as most, if not all, of her cuts and scrapes were real. In fact, she did this role because her brother was a fan of the games. Michelle Rodriguez had actively told her agent to keep an eye out for any sort of Resident Evil adaptation, so when it was handed to Anderson, she was connected right away. One of the biggest challenges facing the effects crew was the dogs. They would keep licking the fake meat and blood put on them. Despite how the series would go, I do have to praise Paul W.S. Anderson for stepping up and keeping the film R-rated. The studio repeatedly wanted it to be PG-13, which is weird since you're handling an M-rated game. Also, it was still pretty tame. Honestly, the film probably could have been PG-13. I guess he just didn't want another Mortal Kombat situation. So after saying all that, and disregarding what came after, I have to say the film isn't terrible. As an adaptation, it does play it a bit smart by more so trying to be outside the game's events. It doesn't touch stars, the Spencer Mansion, or really anything up until the ending with Raccoon City. That said, it largely manages to capture more than a bit of the game's feel with navigating Umbrella facilities. Though there not being any puzzles did feel weird, the film is about a Special Forces team going in, navigating a secret facility, all the while dealing with its bioorganic weapons. That's more or less Resident Evil. From STARS operative to rookie cop, it really wasn't until Resident Evil Outbreak you'd be a normal Joe. At least I assume Ark Thompson has some sort of training, given he's a private eye. Each character feels like they'd fit in a Resident Evil game, even Alice. This is before her powers in the later entries. Well, apparently she was originally intended to be more dependent on others. I think what we got was largely reasonable, with just a moment or two being a little over the top. The cast is fine, and while you might assume the score would clash, it actually makes the film rather fun. If nothing else, it's rather brisk. I really didn't feel the runtime, though at some moments it was choppy. I point again to them suddenly all regrouping. So it's a film that doesn't adapt the games directly, instead choosing to adopt the spirit. I honestly can't be mad about that, and I can't bring myself to hate it. The film isn't perfect, but it was better than what was coming out at the time, and ignoring that, it still manages to be a competent zombie film. I think if it had stayed at one film, it would honestly be looked back at with a bit more fondness. Calling this film terrible or one of the worst adaptations out there is definitely overkill. Honestly, if you got some friends over and want a fun zombie flick, this will satisfy your needs. Though I am surprised it kept the monster variety so low, not even a tyrant or a giant scorpion. Anyways, just remember, you aren't all going to die watching the film. Statistically, only some of you might die.
You mean shoot them in the head?